One laptop, yes? Yeah? 2 laptops, okay. 3 laptops, okay, nice. If I can ask you to try to form groups of 3 people, we will do some work together. So it would be nice if you can find 2 peers to work with before we start the workshop. Yeah, sorry, I will not be able to do it. All right. So as people gather, we will form up to 4 groups, probably 3 people per group, maybe 4 people per group. Okay. Nice. Okay. All right. So there's 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups. That would be group number 4, I guess. Huh? Okay. 1, 2, 3. I would say so, yeah. But you can also do it on paper. If you have a paper, or if you can try to do it. You can try to do the same yourself, yeah. Maybe it helps to have something like a mirror board, but feel free to be creative without internet as well. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we will work with what we have, okay. Okay. So, hello, and thanks everybody for showing up. My name is Josef Kruckenberg. I am originally from Vienna, so it's a home visit, which is nice. I do work at Leap. We are a digital agency based in 6 different cities of Switzerland. And my job at Leap is product owner. I work with Drupal team to build e-commerce sites, to build CMS sites, all based on Drupal, usually using a headless stack with GraphQL. And today I wanted to practice with you some techniques. I'm not regular using them, so it's also an experiment for myself. I've been using them from time to time. Yeah, so we'll see a little bit about story mapping, and we'll see a little bit about affinity estimation. Who is familiar with story mapping? So nobody, okay, maybe 1 person, yeah, okay. And who does do any kind of estimation in your projects? Okay, yeah, that's probably a yes for everybody. And who does, or who has already worked with affinity estimations? Okay, maybe not. Maybe it's familiar. It's not a total reinvention. Yeah, you can use the QR code. I'm not sure. Does somebody still need access to this because maybe you're far away and it doesn't work? I will assume that. So we are forming groups. For those who have joined late, it might help you to join an already existing group. Otherwise, you will be a little bit lonely in the workshop. I'll say this is group number 1, group number 2, group number 3, and on this side we have group number 4. All right. So in the first part, we want to work on a story map, and each of the groups can choose one of the topics. So 2 of the topics have already been chosen, and so you can be, like, if you want to be the lazy group, you can, or not the lazy group, if you want to start with something already and make it better. And if it finds appealing to you, you can work on a topic that's called first time contribution, or you can work on a topic that's called the Splash Awards. If you want to come up with something new, we can work on the X or the Y. Yeah. So maybe now take a little bit, 1 to 2 minutes to discuss in your group. Is one of the topics appealing to you? Maybe then write your group number in front of the topic. or we can also discuss, like, if you wanna have some input on what could the topics be. I would also like to suggest something maybe outside of Drupal. It could be just like we do the story mapping, for example, with your morning routine. Yes, go ahead. You are group number 3, if I'm correct. So feel free to grab it by adding your number to the title. For those, yes, for those who have joined a little bit later, you should find one of the groups. Join one of the groups. They are physically located in the room. So group number 3 is here. Group number 4 is here. Group number 3, the splashboards are at the top of the room. Group number 2 is at the edge of the room, and group number 1, that's you. Also, thank you for adding comments. Let us know if we should read them. Okay. Does the access work for group number 1? It's still loading. Okay. So, how are groups number 2 and 4 doing? Do you have a topic you would like to work on? Okay. So let's give half a minute to finalize the picking of the topics. It's not so important what the topic will be. We'll discuss more the technique. All right. Okay. So which group would take the first time contribution? Yeah, number 2. Okay. So we can add, or you can edit the title. Group 2. All right. You can already familiarize yourself with what we've put in here. Group number 1 has picked this slot. And group number 4, you will be here. Okay. All right. So we'll need some topics that the groups work on. Do you have already? Can you explain me what you want to work on? Group number 1. Flying to Mars is your objective. Okay. Flying to Mars. I like it. Okay. So because the other groups, they already have some items there, maybe we can start mapping out what would group number 1 need to fly to Mars. We're creating now our story map. It's basically the tasks that we need to accomplish in order to have achieved flying to Mars. What would we do, for example, if we will land on Mars, I guess. And maybe at the end we will also celebrate. Maybe we will have to come back. Not sure. That could be something to discuss. You need a spaceship. What do we do with the spaceship? We build it, or do we buy it? Or, okay, we need money. Found the company. Get the spaceship. Okay. Find money. Okay. Something else? Get a launch pad. Crew. Okay. Maybe we also have to train the crew. Maybe somewhere in between we also have to fly. What would you do while flying to Mars, for example? Sleep? Yeah. Okay. Maybe we could also visit some other... What can you visit on the way to Mars? Can you visit something else? No? Sorry? Focus on Mars. Yeah, that's good. So that would be an optional. Visit Moon. Someone could want to do that, but okay. So yeah, when people talk about story maps, what do they describe? That's basically they describe a series of tasks that help us accomplish goals. So we could also, to each of the columns could also represent a goal. And then in each of the columns, you could also add subtasks, like to found a company, you need a series of tasks. To find the money, you need a series of tasks. So you can get even more specific by breaking them down into subtasks to fulfill a goal. And some of them could also be optional ones, like when we think about the MVP or version 2, version 3. The first flying to Mars maybe will not even land on Mars, but it will be just starting the rocket and trying to get it back or something like that. So in those, what I like about it is in those two dimensions, we can explain the series, kind of usually something that is before something else is on the left, something that is at the end is on the right, and usually the vertical things we use to order, for example, that a priority. Like if something is more like an add-on, then it will be very much below. Like so, here we have added the visiting Moon below. All right. So group number 1, you can also continue refining your journey to fly to Mars with further tasks or goals that you would like to put onto this map. Before we jump to group number 4, maybe we can ask group number 2. Have you had a thought already about what's up here? Nothing? Not yet. Okay. So if you think about first-time contribution, would you want to add stuff to that list or change things here? Okay. Oh, group number 3 is already at the estimations. Very nice. Good. Okay. I would suggest before we move on to the next step, we take another 2 minutes and try to add 3 or 4 more items to your story map so that you have a little bit of more stuff to work with. Don't overthink it. Just add stuff that you find interesting to your list, and we will work with that in the next step in 1.5 minutes. Okay, great. I will give you 30 seconds more to finish the last conversations that you're doing before we move on to the next step about the estimations. Okay. So 3 of the groups now have their story map more or less ready, and we can move on to, I think it's a good opportunity. We can take a look at what group number 3 has already started to do. I'll try to make it bigger that we can see it. Okay. So you're talking about the splash awards. And we can see 2 axes. Now horizontally, I've added a complexity scale in Fibonacci numbers. It's usually what teams use for story point estimations. So maybe we can ask the group what, like when adding things into the first, the second, the third column, what measurement would you apply, or what was your feeling? For example, when rating all the projects or finding sponsors seems to have the highest complexity. Yeah. Yeah. It takes a lot of effort, maybe, takes a lot of time. Okay. Yeah. All right, thanks. Whereas, for example, finding catering, finding the venue, gathering jury members, closing the submissions, these are all rated as complexity 1. So what we usually do in the affinity estimation, how I have learned it in the beginning was just about complexity. We didn't do the value thing, so you can also remove that. But and I will get to the value thing in a bit. I think what usually helps is if we can find like reference stories. So let's say a 3, like if the team has already worked on such a thing in the past, like finding sponsors, it would be a good reference. If it's the first time we do it, then yeah, usually it's a little bit harder to estimate, but it gives a little bit of like an understanding of the reference points. the way you can do it in, like when you want to do this like as a team exercise, that you basically go pass on the ball, like each of the team members gets to pick one of the story map items, takes it off, places it where the person thinks it should be, and then it's the next person's turn. And what the next person can do, the next person can either change an existing item, make a statement about it, or add a new item, which is kind of a confirmation if the previous estimation was accepted. Now, when we look at the value scale, it's also like usually a question like who can decide about that. Maybe that's more an opportunity to invite the stakeholders to do it. So we have had good experiences that in the same session the team cares about the complexity and the stakeholders will be in charge to define if it's a must-have, if it's a could-have. And especially like now we don't have very complex items, but it's often an opportunity to take the complex items and break them down into smaller ones. Like if there's a lot of high value items on the right side, then it's an opportunity to break them down and to see, okay, in the limited budget that's available or in the limited resources that we have, how can we maximize the value that we create? Whereas if there's big items on the lower end, like could-haves or won't-haves, then we don't need to discuss them anyways because they are not creating enough value to be discussed. All right. I would like to give, let's see, how far are we at? Yeah. I'll give you 5 minutes to, in your group, distribute the remaining items in terms of value and complexity. And when one of the groups is finished, I would like to invite one of the group representatives to come speak into the mic, that we quickly discuss like what are the most important points from your groups. So we'll have the next 4 minutes left to finish estimating. And then please nominate one of the representatives of your group to come to the stage that we discuss the findings of the group. Okay, we're coming slowly to the discussion round. If your group is already finished, can you already find a person to join me at the stage to discuss? Entschuldige. Maestro, bei der Kamera. Hallo, Meister Kamera. Or do you have a mic? Okay, perfect. Then we will use that mic. Thanks. All right, thanks for coming. That's Klausi. I think you represent group number 1, right? Yay, let's take a look.
One, two, three.
Okay.
So what was surprising when flying to Mars? There, not everything is must-have. So we distributed some stuff down. Of course, we need to kind of land, but landing on other celestial bodies like the moon has been done before. So we said it's complexity 2, but we must do it to be there. Surviving on Mars is the hardest stuff, so it's in the top right corner. We were a little bit optimistic with training the crew. It's not technically a must-have. If everything is automated, then maybe we don't need to train them, but probably we should, so that the rate of survival is higher. And then we also clustered a stuff of stuff in could-have, like sleeping on the way would be nice, but it's not necessarily a must-have. Found a company, maybe the Chinese government sponsors us, so we could find the money and then it's easier, but maybe we have a sponsor. Visiting the moon, so this is where we kind of drive the agile coach a little bit crazy because we put it exactly in between should and could have, and let's see what happens. Maybe they don't like it. Send a selfie is also easy, and there's a radio connection to the moon has been done before, even to Mars, so complexity also easy. Anything else to explain? Questions?
Thank you very much. Group number 1. If there's no more questions, we can hand it over to group number 2. Are you ready to share some insights? I know it was not your it was not you adding the items, but thanks for joining us here. I need one volunteer, please. Okay. Hello.
Hello. We had some problem understanding like the topic or the question, so we didn't really know how to work with this method. The most important thing we realized is that when you first time contribute, it's not really a must. Nothing is a must because you want to do it. So we didn't really know where to put these post-its because it isn't a must. You want to contribute. And I think it matters really the context. Like we are like, I'm a designer. I'm not sure if we have developers in our team. So for everyone, it's really different. And I think we needed some more, talking to really go with this method. So thanks.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, that reminds me when the team has to estimate stuff that the team hasn't really collaborated on defining, like how can we even estimate things that we don't understand? So I think you raise a good point. We have to have at least some kind of understanding. Maybe we haven't. I don't think we can always assume that we should have done it before, because sometimes you just have to do something new and you want to be able to work on something new as well. Yeah, but also the composition of the team you have mentioned is also probably an influential, maybe to also assess what comes as a high priority or a low priority. If you ask a group of designers, they will maybe rate other things more important than if you ask a group of developers. And the same story with asking different stakeholders. They could have all their own interests. So I think identifying the person who can really state what is valuable, I think, is super important. And making sure that the team understands what we're talking about is also very important. Thanks for raising that. Let's continue with group number 3. Who wants to come? I know you were super eager. That's also why everything is important. Because you love the topic, I don't know.
Yeah, so we were evaluating the Splash Awards. Of course, it's important if you organize Splash Awards that you review all projects, and going over all the submissions is an enormous task for all the people that are involved. So that's why we rated it high in the top right. And on the top left, you see some must-haves, but that are smaller tasks, like announcing the venue is a small email that you can send in a short time. Announce the call for submissions, same different mail, same template. Update the website, small task that you can do. Close the submissions, you don't even need to do that. You could say, like, if we don't close them, we just allow them to send in until the end. And then there's some tasks, level 2 and 3. So you need to do a kickoff, invite some agencies, define the winners, define the criteria. Might be debatable on how complex that is, but and then we have some could-haves in the bottom: send invoices and find catering. You could send invoices, and we also did discuss on the possibility to have sponsors or not. So we were thinking that maybe you can put the find sponsors and send invoices in could-have, but yeah, you need some money, so it's and then on the third level, there's a rate all the projects, prepare the award night, gather jury members, prepare budget plan, sort of working things that took like half a day or like this kind of amount of work. But you cannot organize this kind of competition without having winners, having the criteria, having an award night, sponsors in this case, and reviewing all projects. So I think that's correctly in the must-have, or at least should. Anything else you want to know?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm not sure if I would agree that invoices are optional, but we could try it. We could always see what happens. Thanks for sharing. I was curious, maybe should we split reviewing all projects into subtasks that could make it more manageable? Because I think the review process is quite complex, so I guess I would, yeah. Because we're working on that actually now for the Splash Award Switzerland. The jury is now going to do the ratings in the next weeks. I think it totally makes sense to break that down into subtasks, so it's manageable. Thanks for sharing your insights about group number 3 in the Splash Awards, and we'll go to the organizing Dev Days. Who wants to talk about that?
Thank you. Obviously, organizing Drupal Dev Days or any event, there are certain must-haves: location, date, finding sponsors, finding volunteers, creating the program, selling tickets and invoices, make a website. You cannot do an event without that. What we put in a should-have category is organizing social program, and maybe also collect topics so that once the submissions for sessions come in, it isn't like too broad of a spectrum. A could-have is quiz night. Well, either we organize that or we just grab up, I don't know, a couple of cases of beer. Probably a lot of people would prefer cases of beers. And for the organizers of Drupal Dev Days, would also mean a lot less work than organizing a quiz night. And for the complexity, I mean, we threw that quite quickly together. From my experience, because I wanted to do Drupal Dev Days in Slovenia as well, for me last year when I started to ask around, the catering and the venue and the sponsors were like, if there would be a category almost impossible, that's where I would put it. I did get some estimations for the catering, and I was like, yeah, it's going to be 35 to 40 euros per day. When are you planning to do that? And I was like, yeah, April, May next year. That could be 30% higher then. So all the complexity that basically we had back in the day in May last year, it could be so much worse this year when the actual event will take place. And also with the venue was the same deal. So I would put that, yeah, here. That's at least my experience from last year. Sorry? Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So if I understood you correctly, it's is it about the price that it's so difficult, or is it about the many options? Like, is it more like, I don't know, it's hard because it costs a lot, or is it hard because you have to make so many decisions?
It's hard from the budgeting side. So we are basically in Slovenia limited to one city, which is Ljubljana, because it's the only city with a close enough airport. Everything else than Ljubljana, it could be an issue. It would be an issue. Finding sponsors, I mean, having an event in London or in Belgium is something, or in Switzerland, is something completely different than having an event in, let's say, Slovenia or Croatia, because the sheer number of Drupal agencies in the Netherlands, you have one street with probably 5 Drupal agencies, and they all signed up to sponsor the Drupal Dev Days, so that's like an easy thing to do. Looking at the number of sponsors in Drupal Dev Days this year, I mean, compared to last year, it was quite more tricky to get those numbers up. So the budget for this year is probably way lower than it was back in 2022. So from a purely budgeting sense, it's difficult.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll slowly go into the closing. Things we have discussed today is, if something is high complexity, try to break it down. First, make sure that you do understand what you're estimating, because otherwise, why do you even make the work to do it? Or maybe use estimating as a way to identify what you don't understand. That's basically how we also do it, especially when the teams don't agree on estimations. It's a good sign to generate a discussion out of it, so the team is aligned on different ideas or viewpoints they have on certain topics they might not be familiar with yet, or to just use it as a learning mechanism also for the team. The question who decides about the value is something that we've seen. Also influence, obviously. How things get prioritized. Thanks all for participating. If you have questions and if you would like to further discuss, we have 5 minutes left.
What would you do if you have many must-haves and plus high complexity? So what would be strategies to reorganize this or get it into a realistic plan?
Does it work now again? No? Test, test? Okay. Right. So if I have a lot of must-haves, right, breaking them down into smaller items.
So when we have a project and while discussing about the project, we get many very important topics.
Okay.
On the other hand, they turn out to be very complex, very deep, and we come to resources from them. Are there strategies to handle this?
So the question is, if there's a lot of important things that are complex, what can we do about them? Like typically we can ask for more budget, but maybe that's not the best way to handle it. I think we have to find a way to prioritize. Like not everything can be top priority. I think what you can do is if the clusters are too coarse, then maybe I would try to make a line to say top must have and basically ask the person who defines the value, like usually it's the customer, usually it's not the agency, to draw a line or to maybe try to frame it differently. If it's, I don't know, having a database is probably always a must-have because you need some kind of database, but try to frame it more from a, how can I slice it into something I can remove part of it, like for example, I don't know, I don't need the login functionality because I only want to statically publish contents, then that can be a way to simplify it. So I think I would try to look at it from different angles and I've seen that in my experience also a lot that like everything is top priority. And then I think it takes an effort to reduce it as much as possible. Thanks for the question. Anything else?
I have one question. Would it make sense to, let's say that we have the case that you mentioned, so high priority tasks and all complex. Would it make sense to organize such a workshop directly with the client?
In my experience, it was helpful to do workshops like this, so that the business side gets to see the impact their prioritization has, or like if everything is on the top line, I think that's already a visual sign that okay, it's just tight. So I think it, especially when using it with business people, I think it can help to visualize it in multiple dimensions, or maybe add even a graph that tells you, hey, you have everything, like 90% of your stories is top priority. What can we do about it? So yeah, I mean, also a workshop is an investment, so I think you have to use it wisely. But usually when when we look at something from such a bigger perspective, such a workshop investment is only a fraction of the other investments that you do. All right, I think we're out of time. Feel free to approach me for any further discussions, and thanks for your participation.
Darf ich hier lassen? Danke.